SecurityCon 1985 here, coming to you with a video on pepper spray, some different kinds, a little bit of information about it. So just give me a like, share, and subscribe. I'm going to be doing more videos like this, but let's get started. So pepper spray is basically a natural compound extracted from chili peppers. It irritates your eyes, mucus, when sprayed onto the face, causes tearing, coughing, temporary blindness, but and gives you, time to escape or gain compliance if you're in security and law enforcement. Chili peppers and stuff's been around since thousands of years. Persia, India, and stuff would make, pepper compounds, pepper bombs, different things like that, used as weapons, and, 20th century, it became more widely used in the United States, especially for like security and personal protection, law enforcement. So that's kind of just a brief backstory. Also, it's also note that even though it's been the 20th century, probably the 70s and 80s is where it really started to come into widespread use. There was different kind of compounds, used in World War II and stuff like that, tear gas, pepper spray, all kinds of stuff, but nothing really came to be popular until we were able to get into a small spray can easier with aerosol. So basically, like I said, pepper spray, if you spray somebody, it lasts approximately, 15 to 30, 45 minutes, the effects. It's not permanent, so it gives you that critical time to get away. And also, like I said, you can clean it up and after you've gained compliance as a law enforcement officer. So, it also works on aggressive animals. There's other special compounds that are made like bear spray and dog spray, but regular pepper spray in a pinch will work. It's better than trying to cause permanent harm to a dog attacking you. So if you walk or go jogging, that's another bonus to pepper spray, is that it's good against the animals. As well, it can protect you, for two-legged and four-legged people. You go up to like Alaska, you have to take bear spray everywhere with you because it's pretty effective. It doesn't work every time, but it's, better than throwing rocks at them or something. So that's why, this stuff is so versatile to be used. So we'll talk about a couple different kinds of pepper spray here. Right here, these two, this is what like an MK3, if you ever see it, would be the size of the Saber Crossfire. This is a gel. This is an MK4, also a gel. So gels basically have a lot of pluses when it's used like inside indoors, because it's very little cross contamination as other sprays will cause, whereas it has like a straight, dedicated, really strong stream that can go up to 15, 30 feet sometimes, depending on the model. Like this one probably can go up to 40 feet. This is pepper gel as well. Shoots a straight stream. Really good for just like a direct one person or spraying just a couple multiple attackers from distance, but doesn't blow as much in the wind as other sprays will, and won't come back on you and maybe affect other people, giving you a better chance to go away. So it's really good for indoors. If you're like security and you work inside and you rarely go outside, you probably want pepper gel if you have to spray somebody inside. So that's plus right there. Also, it's really good that it's not as limited to like any other stuff like like foam, which is another indoor one, which I don't have any foam, but I'll put up a picture. Shoots a almost like a pile of foam, real close range, and it's real good because there's no cross contamination. But one of the downfalls is they can grab it and kind of toss it back on you. Does it happen? Rare. There isn't that many people use foam, maybe hospitals, stuff like that, but gel's kind of slowly replacing that too. So, but the gel, as soon as it hits the eyes, it instantly melts and kind of goes down into your eye. So it's not like you can really throw it back with ease. I mean, you could try, and there's probably certain cases where maybe it's happened, but I haven't seen too many of it. So gel's really great all around. But here we have this is Defense Tech. This is real popular with law enforcement. mean, so is Saber. Saber and Defense Tech are probably the two most biggest when it comes to law enforcement. This is Stream. I'll put a picture up there of what Stream looks like. It's similar to gel. It doesn't have the range, but this stuff isn't a gel, so it will more affected by air and area, so it will have cross contaminate. Like if you spray this in a room, you're not going to have people being able to go in that room until you air it out. You're going to have to get fans, stuff like that, probably. So we use this in the jail a lot, and it's really effective. But you're going to get it on you no matter what. But it's really good stuff. Um, Also, just as an example too, if you have these type of sprays, make sure you check the expiration dates. I keep these around just because, for videos or whatever. But this is expired, I think, in 2018. You're usually 5 years, so if you keep it that longer, you definitely want to keep maybe practicing it, going out, shaking it, just a quick spray, just to see if it's keep working, because the aerosol will go down in these, and then next thing you know, it won't spray anything out. It'll just look like a little drip. So. That's kind of also, there's like fogger, which would be this one, and a kind of a cone spray, which is kind of a fogger, but sprays out in a cone. This just sprays out like a huge stream here, and it's really good for crowds or a lot of people. You could keep this like in your car, or if you get surrounded in an area, and spray this out the window and spray create a whole whirlwind of fire in their eyes, And this is an actual fogger, but this one's in pepper gel. I don't have any regular fogger. Like, we use these sizes in the jail as a fogger or cone, because you could open a cell chute and just spray a bunch of this in there, close the chute, and just let them kind of sit in there, and they'll want out eventually. So that's another good one. So those are your basic types. There are always a little bit other ones. This one, is just a little personal size, just to show you here. And this one, made by Palm, real good. You can get them on Amazon. Real good to carry. Get you about 10 to 12 feet spray here. And, this is would be a stream. It's not a gel, so it's gonna, you got to be careful cross contamination. And they also sell a bigger personal defense one, a stream here. You could just clip it on your belt or wherever, or a vest, even if you work security. This one's real strong. It has OC concentration, and then Scoville units. When you see OC concentration like 10%, that talks about how strong it is. So the higher like the OC concentration, like 10% is pretty industry standard. And then you have Scoville units, which is kind of just measure the heat of the chili peppers, based on the capsaicin, which is OC is oleoresin capsaicin. Just shows like if you have a bunch of numbers of 1.3 major MC and then 10% oleocapsaicin. It's just talking about the strength and how many how much it effective and stuff. So the higher the numbers, the better. Scoville units is just basically how much water it would take to water down the peppers to make it not burn or effective. So it's just kind of another way of measuring it. And then OC concentration, 10%. There's a lot of good brands out there. Saber, Defense Tech, and then you got Fox Labs, real good. And there's a lot of companies coming out. This one's just Police Magnum. So real effective. Just remember, this stuff doesn't always work. It's only effective about 87% of the time, which is still good, but you just take that in effect. There's people who have natural immunity to it. Rare, but happens. There's people that built up immunity to it, criminals, stuff like that. So just take that into effect. Also, don't take into effect, especially for if you work in security or law enforcement. There are oil-based sprays and water-based sprays. These are all pretty much water-based sprays. That's kind of the new common, but there are still oil ones out there. Oil's thicker, stickier. They resist wind drift a little bit more, and they're kind of like a gel type too. But some gels are not, oil based. They're still water based. And then water based is, like I said, it's just more water soluble. So, but oil based, you have to be careful. Is that if you are in law enforcement or anything and you spray somebody with oil base and tase them, it can catch them on fire. It's, so a lot of departments, have a policy once they're sprayed, you cannot taser, even though it's water based. They just don't want the liability of basically melting somebody's face. So just take that, but you will see some, they'll say EDW, safe, non-flammable, electronic immobilization device compatible with taser. So that, and here's one, like this one's kind of oil based. You can't really, use, but this one has OC pepper spray and tear gas in it. So these are nasty. So good for personal defense. You can carry them with security if you don't carry a taser, but just remember, if law enforcement comes to tell them, hey, I've sprayed them, so they know, because liability can come back on you as well. So, and then like I said, you have bear sprays, which are not as strong as actual pepper spray. People, that's a common misnomer. Bear spray is a lot weaker because the nostrils and stuff on bear and stuff are more sensitive, so you don't need a strong. So like you see people carrying bear spray as personal protection, it's not that strong for people. Yeah, it burns and can mobilize them. That's better than nothing. But taking offense, buy real pepper spray. If you're going to carry, if you want to get a big one, right here. This is like $30 off Amazon. It's shipped right to your door. But make sure you're using it lawfully as well. So, just wrapping up here, I also wanted to bring up that there are different kinds of ways of pepper spray, and I'll show some pictures up here. Here's a cool one Saber makes. This one is a pepper spray and a flashlight. These are kind of harder to find, but there are out there, and then you can carry it in a clip. And you have a spray, and it's a little thing. You could take this off, and you could change out the sprays if it's empty, so you can keep this lasting for everyone when the pepper spray's out. So, and then there's your pepper balls. Then they have pepper spray grenades that you can kind of toss into a room, like more for SWAT and law enforcement, where it'll just fill the whole room, kind of like tear gas, but pepper spray. Same kind of principle. And then you have pepper spray guns that you can load a little cartridge in and spray, kind of use it as like a gun. Those work as well. Like I said, just remember, check your local laws with pepper spray, because there's some states that don't really allow some, and there's some that don't allow certain formulas or strengths. So just really follow the laws, research, and make sure you're using it lawfully. We never use these weapons offensively. It's always as defense, to get away or gain some compliance if you work in law enforcement security. So, doing more videos on this. I'll get this edited and up, and I hope you give me some likes and follows. And this SecurityCon 1985 out.